Nigeria is a nation of gifted people, nation of talented, gifted people. But the average Nigerian person who gets into the corridors of power uses their intellect, their ability, their giftedness to steal from Nigeria instead of to develop Nigeria. When George Bush Jr. was president, when his tenure was over and Obama became president, they were having a debate on a subject, and somebody said to him, make a comment, say something. He said, no. He said, there's only one president per time. The moment I talk, there are two presidents. I cannot talk. You cannot be an ex-president making national comments. Even if you are right, that means there are two presidents. Without the rule of law, you are going to have a culture of impunity. That's what Nigeria has. There are no consequences for evil in Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria is a state where those who do evil are so celebrated that those who do right are finished. A leader is a leading example. If you have leadership, they are not examples. Whatever they represent is the culture of the country. Yes. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Unless you have righteous leaders in governance. Righteous leadership doesn't mean born again or going to church. That will help a lot. But it means that you are governed by the law. Strong rules. John Adams was the second president of America. He said we're a nation of laws, not men. Africa is a nation of strong men, not strong institutions. Yes. Anything that can inspire the entrepreneurial spirit and change the narrative. Don't tell people to look for a job. Nobody needs a job. People need a calling and purpose. The moment the youth or a youth discovers purpose, they will not lack job for the rest of their life. The government will never have enough jobs for everybody. So we need to encourage entrepreneurial spirit. That means help raise entrepreneurs, adjust people's mindset to say, you do not need a job. You need to create work for yourself by playing to your strength. Nigeria is a nation of people complaining. They are tied to history. The people are chopping Nigeria's money and talking about Britain. People are stealing from Nigeria and calling the colonial master. But they are the ones stealing. Colonial master left 64 years ago. You are at the helm of affairs. You are your president, your governor, LG chairman. You are still calling colonial masters. That's an excuse for a culture of impunity.
Welcome to another episode of Selahmeditate, where we discuss on life-transforming matters on business, mindset, self-development, and also issues on social change that's going to impact you and also develop you in every area of your life. I remain your host, Benzik. And on today's episode, we're going to be dissecting Nigeria's issue and its matter. And I have a very powerful guest beside me that's going to do justice to the discussion. He's not alien to the issue. We have had him here. I think this should be like the fourth time we're having him here. And he has been very powerful, very impactful. Most of all the videos that we have done, he has had lots of tremendous impacts on people and individuals. So if it's the first time I'm coming to the channel, do it to hit the subscribe button, like this video, turn on the post notification, and also share it with those who this is going to impact. I remain your host, Benzik. So guys, welcome my apostolic leader, social reformer, and a transformational speaker, John C Enelamah.
Thank you very much.
Sir, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
It's really indeed a pleasure. We've had a lot of conversation back to back, and you've been very, very impactful with your sessions and what you keep sharing. So it's always a privilege to have you on this show.
Thank you.
Today I want us to dissect majorly on Nigeria. You know, the issues are becoming too much. Every day, I think since I was born, or since I have knowledge of myself, I've been hearing people keep saying Nigeria is going to be better. Nigeria is going to be better. But the more we keep saying Nigeria is going to be better, the more it keeps deteriorating, or it keeps getting worse. So we don't even know whether are we even making progress or we're going backward. And I think that's one of the things that also propelled you to also write. You wrote a book on the blueprint for Nigeria. So I do not know what inspired that book, first of all.
My burden for Nigeria.
Yeah.
It was written at the time I had opportunity to stay back in the US to process permanent residence, and I had some time in my hands. And then in my conversational lifestyle with God then said, now that you have some time, why don't you write a book on Nigeria? By asking, he said, you've heard a lot of what people have said about Nigeria. Now, why don't you ask me questions and do some research to find out what I have said about your country, Nigeria. So the inspiration came from God. And the fact that I had carried a burden for Nigeria for many years before then. Yes.
Interesting. So what do you think so far about Nigeria? When people keep saying Nigeria is going to be better, but it looks like it keeps deteriorating. It's going to be better today, before you know it, tomorrow, from $1 to one, from dollar to $100, dollar to 200. Now we're dollar to, I think, at 700 at the moment. What do you think is the major problem with Nigeria? What is happening? Are we making progress or we're going backward?
I think that's a pretty good question. The thing to remember about life is that life on earth is spiritual, and there are many principles. So I give you an example. In the Old Testament, God said to Abraham, He said, your people will go into slavery for 400 years. And He said, after 400 years, I'll bring them with a mighty deliverance. And He says, because the sins of the Amorites are not yet full. That's pretty interesting. So it means that God had a calendar, a timetable. And He had made a promise to Abraham, I will give you the promised land, which is where Israel is today. But then they were just, they were in a different location. Abraham came from the Ur of the Chaldees, from somewhere in Haran, and he was traveling towards the promised land. So in God's plan, there was really nothing Abraham could do to possess the promised land, except he was to believe God that the Amorites will sin faster, at a faster pace. Because God said, the rate they are selling, it take me 400 years to dispossess them of the land. In fact, the reason God was going to dispossess them of the land was because of the fact they were polluting the land by their lifestyle. And He said, Abraham, I'm going to give it to you as a promised land, Canaan. Now, in the Nigerian situation, you have to say, what's going on? That's your question. It's not a very simple answer. The reason is because Nigeria could be suffering from lack of fulfillment of her own potential. Nigeria could be suffering from lack of leadership. The fact that leadership is by example. If the people at the top are bad examples, the nation will go the wrong way. Nigeria could be suffering from many things, but what I can say at this point is that what I believe is part of Nigeria's greatest problem, not the only problem, but what I believe to be part of Nigeria's greatest problem, not the solution, the problem now, is that Nigeria is a nation of gifted people, nation of talented, gifted people. But the average Nigerian, in quote, you have to define that average. What I mean by average, the average person who gets into the corridors of power uses their intellect, their ability, their giftedness to steal from Nigeria instead of to develop Nigeria.
How do you mean? Break it down.
What I mean is that, you know what they call 419?
Yeah, sure.
The 419. Now, Nigerians are associated with 419. Well,
That's fraud.
that fraud, even to carry it out, you have to be smart. So some people are using their smartness to cheat others. Nigeria is a nation of gifted and talented people. Some of the most gifted people you find throughout human history, or at least among humanity. Nigerians excel everywhere in the world. I've lived in Boston area. I lived in Newton, which is close to Boston. When my children were young, we used to go to Harvard to go to the Coop, their bookstore, to go and read books. My children will read because there you could read book and return it. We go there. Sometimes we leave them there, do stuff. One of the things that was interesting is the number of Nigerians that are studying at Harvard University in terms of maybe Harvard Business School or the Kennedy School of Government or the public health, the School of Public Health. So many Nigerians. When I started going to South Africa for the first time in 1997, I had one of my friends, one of my classmates who studied medicine at the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, who was living in South Africa, in the Mpumalanga area. He once took me to the area where either they register for this the exams they take as doctors to practice in South Africa. Even the invigilators were Nigerian. The people that are administering the examination. He even told me at a point they stopped Nigerians from taking the exam because they pass it. They said, don't take, we don't want you. That's how gifted they are. Nigeria has thousands of medical doctors in the US alone. They said that in some of the best places you practice medicine in the world, whenever you get there, and Nigeria is part of that team, right? Nigeria has been described as one of the most educated, or if not the most educated immigrants in the United States of America, right? They're gifted. But I'm saying that the average Nigerian uses his intellect, his giftedness, his talent, ability to cheat Nigeria instead of to help Nigeria, especially those in the corridors of power.
Why do you think that is happening?
Why do I think that is happening? Well, my simple answer would be bad examples over the years would be because of lack of consequence for doing wrong. So when people do wrong at a small level, 10%, there are no consequences. They go to 20. There are no consequences. They go to 30. There are no consequences. One day they start chopping the future, which is what is going on now. So it's a culture of impunity because there are no consequences. The reason you can't do that in America, the consequences are severe. They are there. Even if you don't eventually land in jail, the process is there. Do you understand? So you look at the American election, 2000, the last election, which was it that Trump said, "Oh, I didn't lose," and the system will bundle him out of the White House because the plane to take him out of the White House was ready. The one to bring the new president is ready. There's no option. If it's either he enters by himself or he's bundled into the plane. There's no option. There's nothing like, hey, he didn't agree to leave, that he's in the White House and contesting the election. It does not exist. They will carry him out of that White House because the new president must come in.
You cannot use executive powers to stop it.
There's nothing like that. The founders of America, the people who wrote the Constitution, who are called the framers of the Constitution, the founding fathers, they thought long and hard about the kind of country that they wanted. They had a constitutional congress, people that's over a 2-3 year period where they're debating what kind of a country do we want. One of the things I found out about the US is that the founding fathers, by the way, these were intellects. It's not like gather everybody, market woman, all those people educated and say it's sovereign national assembly. There's nothing like that. These were some of the best and brightest minds. They became college presidents. Do you understand what I'm saying? They thought long and hard, and they decided that they will not leave discretionary power, not even to the president. They have what they call rule of law. It's called the supremacy of the rule of law. You know what the rule of law says? Everybody is under the law. The government is under the law. The president himself is under the law. Nobody is above the law. Everybody is under the law. The government is under the law. Nobody is above the law. You know what that means? Nobody is above the law. It means that the son of the president cannot fly presidential jet. That's being above the law. It's not. I'm not saying that to mean anything. I'm just saying to say you can't have the look. Let me tell you what I mean by law. When George Bush Jr. was president, when his tenure was over, and Obama became president, they were having a debate on a subject, and somebody said to him, "Make a comment, say something." He said, "No." He said, "There's only one president per time. The moment I talk, there are two presidents. I cannot talk. You cannot be an ex-president making national comments, even if you are right. That means there are two presidents. That means that you're above the law."
It could be an opinion.
Then everyone can have opinion, but you can't publish opinion as if it's a statement. Opinion means it's your opinion. Keep it to yourself. We don't need to. I don't want to hear your opinion. Don't publish your opinion and be. The point I'm trying to make is that even for good or for bad, nobody is above the law. Let me tell you, Mr. Obama, former First Lady, Michelle Obama, wrote a book on becoming. I read the book. In the book, she said, when we were in the White House, there were times we ordered food, not in the White House menu. The staff will help us to order the food. When the food will arrive, we'll pay from our pocket because it's not in the menu. Why? Nobody is above the law. It's a very powerful thing. The supremacy of the rule of law. Without the rule of law, you are going to have a culture of impunity. That's what Nigeria has. There are no consequences for evil in Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria is at a state where, before we talk about solution, where those who do evil are so celebrated that those who do right are foolish. Not that they're foolish, they look like. People talk anyhow. People say things. Do you know what is leadership? Do you know the average person who becomes an American president prepares himself for years? I've watched the presidential debate more than once. Even when you see the potential president or the person running for office and their family, the way they are groomed, the way they carry themselves, these ones are presidential material. Why am I saying that? It means leadership is a choice by design, not by default. You don't just become the governor of a state.
How do you compare their leadership system with Nigerians' leadership system?
We're all human beings, subject to human failures and human errors. But they have a system. We don't have a system.
Okay.
So there's nothing to break that. There's no leadership system in Nigeria. What is the process of becoming a president in Nigeria? There's no system. Anybody can become president. What I'm trying to say is that in America, anybody can, but the process is systematic. America is a nation of systems. People prepare for office.
So how do you mean we don't have system?
Anybody can be president.
Anybody can be president there?
No, not so. People prepare to be president. What it means is that they will dig your story so much that we can't be debating things about you. You're still running for office. In America, you drop out. The only person I've ever defied that may be Mr. Trump. In America, by the time they start asking questions, you by yourself will drop out. Because you can't go anywhere. In this place, they can be debating anything, asking questions about a potential candidate, where they're asking questions, the person is just moving. Yes. In that place, that the fact they ask questions, you're out. Not that they are, when they start asking questions, it's a very serious system. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's documentation. There's no perfect system, but I'm saying that in America, when George Bush Sr. died, I watched the burial ceremony on TV. There's a gentleman, I don't know his name, but he said his father worked with George Bush Sr. And they interviewed him. He said, in his eulogy, he said that one of the things he admired about everybody that's occupied the Oval Office is their intellectual curiosity. That they know so much when they come, but they're so humble as if they don't know anything. They're asking questions like babies. That's what I mean by a system. People are hungry. People come, they don't talk anyhow. They conduct their affairs. They may not be the best, but you can see that the person has taken years to prepare to come to that place where he's sitting down in the Oval Office. In Nigeria, maybe they take years, but those years are not years of preparation, years of ambition. Do you know what it means to say, I want to rule a country or be the leader of a country? You're saying, I want to become the chief problem solver. You may be imperfect, but you cannot be sleeping peacefully when the country is burning. Lee Kuan Yew, the father of modern Singapore, the wife said of him that he could not sleep at night, was tossing in bed, asking the question, how can I feed 2 million Singaporeans? He couldn't sleep at night.
Wow.
No wonder he resolved the issues. So, maybe the point I'm endeavoring to make.
The Nigerian social system is totally different when it comes to our leadership selection process.
If there's a leadership selection process, it's faulty. Leadership selection, not politics. So it's not like we're not talking about internal democracy to say we want to look for a candidate. We're saying your candidate, is it presidential material? Are you looking for a leader for Nigeria, or are you looking for a politician within your politics to become your candidate? They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. Look at the quality of the presidential debate. One presidential debate, Biden dropped out. After they gave feedback, he had to leave. He couldn't run for office again. Just one debate. They said, look, this man, we love you. Well, even of the same party, but we don't think you can run for office. The way you performed, you can't represent this country. These are members of his party. Telling him that, sir, we don't think if you run, we'll win, because we don't think. He had to.
It's not the one that you will say, I'm not coming for any debates, or you will not show yourself up for debates.
Try. In America, you have to have good reasons. If you don't have good reasons, it could be the end of your candidacy. You can't just talk anyhow, right? I'm not coming for any debate.
Like in this country now, nobody.
That's what I understand what you mean. Yes. There are some challenges there. Yeah.
Okay, now let's progress. Nigeria just clocked 64
Sure.
2 days ago. So far, a 64-year-old country. What do you think are the milestones so far we've crossed, or what do you think are the things that we still need to reach out to, or we still need to make to become a great nation?
I think that we've had democracy since 1999 until now. So that's 25 years of democracy. That's a milestone. We can then now do what kind of democracy, right? When I look back, one of the things I have to say is that if in the first coup, some Nigerian political leaders and civilians were killed because those who killed them, the army officers, thought they were corrupt. I think those people that killed them will be turning in their graves, because if those ones were corrupt, what are people today? Those ones, they call them 10%ers, that the fact that, they will take 10%, but if they took a contract, they executed the contract. You can see the contract. Not that somebody will say, I'm building road. Do you know how many roads in Nigeria, maybe, say, tarred, that was not tarred? I live on a street in Lekki. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but we've sent people, and they said, our street, my portion, that is being tarred, according to documentation in government, but it's not tarred in reality. Somebody has taken that money and eaten it and say it's tarred. Maybe it's not a unique situation, but the point I'm making is that those first Republicans who were executed because people thought they were corrupt, they should be, the people that thought they were corrupt, who killed them, should be turning in their graves, because the people in power today make a caricature of those people. Because those ones are saints. Even if they had a home, when Dr. Michael Opara, who was Premier of Eastern Region, came back, he had no home. They already raised money and built him a home. But he was the Premier of all of the Eastern states. Not Abia, not Imo, not Ebonyi, not Enugu, Anambra. All of them combined, including Cross River, River State. He was the Premier. And he didn't have a home. A home. They told me a story once that when Chief Obafemi Awolowo was Premier, that he came back on a foreign trip, and his son, I believe Shegu, was in school. I don't know what school in Lagos. And he came back on a trip and stopped by. I think he was coming on a trip. I wanted to see him. They said the gate man said, sir, he's not visiting there. He entered his car and left. Try that with the governor. He comes to see his son, he says he's not visiting there. You have lost your job.
True.
You can't do that. Even the principal will come and conduct him and start a formal visit with him and take him through the school, even though he's not visiting there. It's a culture of impunity. There are no rules. There's no rules anymore. There are no rules. There are no rules, unfortunately.
Yeah. Now, do you think we are diverse in this part of the world, this country? Do you think our problem is diversity, or how do you think Nigeria can leverage its cultural diversity?
How many nations make up the United States of America? From California to New York is 5.5 hours by flight. 5.5 hours. America has about 6 time zones. What is diversity in Nigeria? Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. I went to a unity school. We were together in the same school, all of us. We were together for 4 years. I came in class 2, some came in class 1. I was there for 4 years, some were there for 5 years. After those years, we are some of the most detribalized Nigerians you ever met, people that went to unity schools. Diversity is a blessing, it's not a curse. Yes, our problem is not diversity. Those things are man-made. Yes.
But it has been used to separate
us. It's a political tool. It's a political tool. What builds a nation is righteousness. And what destroys a nation is sin.
What do you describe as righteousness? What do you describe as sin?
Righteousness, I like that. Let's make it practical. Righteousness is doing right, acting right, and believing right. You believe the right thing, or you know the right thing, you do the right thing, and you practice the right thing. You live right. That's righteousness. Righteousness means this is red light, don't run it. Righteousness means that you do business. 40% is yours, 60% is mine. You take your 40, you leave the 60. Righteousness means that you conduct election. 20 voters, 20 people registered. The people that vote cannot be more than 20. Righteousness means that the ballot paper you used to fill, they don't have cancellations on it. You don't have cancellations on the ballot paper. You don't write and what are you canceling? Take another paper. What are you canceling? How can you be having people vote and the people that voted are more than those that are registered? What is the problem? And then you have cancellations where you're transferring goods. You have some places, the average voter rate may be, because of apathy, maybe 20%. They have places where they're 98%. Where did 98% come from? That's lack of righteousness. We have an election. Somebody came forth. By the time they finish the court procedure, the fourth person is now the governor. What magic is that?
True.
So righteousness is that you take jab. The cutoff mark is 280. If you have 279, your name will not enter the list because your father is something or knows somebody. Righteousness is that you apply for passport. You don't know anybody. And you don't need to know anybody. Your passport will come out. Not that you now need to know somebody who knows somebody that knows somebody for you to get your passport. That's lack of righteousness. Righteousness is that the people who rule the state, they are the chief security officers of the state. They are trusted.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain this thing. Now, righteousness is when somebody that has no godly desire to solve problems at a certain level go and vie for political push at that level, political office. You don't have any desire, no burden. You're just carrying on. Nigeria. Righteousness exalts a nation. A is A, B is B. But sin, what is sin? Breaking the law, missing the mark, that's sin. It's a reproach to any nation.
Now, also, I mean, this is not applicable. This is not applicable in America, like you vote, your cancellation and things like that, or their own voting process is different from ours.
I think the voting is. I think it's almost computerized.
Okay.
It's advanced democracy. They've gone far. They review. In America, when they're voting, they're voting. They're voting at different times. There's early voting. The voting process, there's no tension. Because your neighbor is voting, you don't know your neighbor is voting. There's no tension. Nobody can be standing there and be distributing 30,000 naira. Do you understand? Campaign has stopped. If you are seen with money around
there's no snatching of ballot box and papers and things like that.
That belongs to the dark ages, something like that. This is 21st century. There's no ballot box. It's like going to bank. You're banking on your phone. Which ballot box? You don't even, do you feel teller to bank on your phone? Teller is old age, Like you write Selahmeditate NWCK. You can do that if you went to the bank. But you can bank from your house. It's the same thing with technology and politics in America. They are advanced. Nigeria will get there.
Why is it difficult for us to do it here?
Righteousness exalts a nation. If you have successive leaders that violate basic laws of life. Wow.
Now, you've spoken much about this, and the root cause of most of all these challenges, I think, is corruption. And so now, how do you think, or how can Nigeria effectively tackle corruption and eliminate it in this particular one?
The thing that first comes to my mind is the law of the lead. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rises
and falls on leadership.
What kind of leaders do we have? What kind of leaders do we need? A leader is a leading example. If you have leadership, they are not examples. Whatever they represent is the culture of the country. Yes. Yeah. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Unless you have righteous leaders in governance. Righteous leadership doesn't mean born again or going to church. That will help a lot.
Yeah.
But it means that you are governed by the law. Strong rules. John Adams was the second president of America. He said we're a nation. A nation of laws, not men. Africa is a nation of strong men, not strong institutions. Yes. We're not a country of laws in Nigeria today. We're a country of men. The weight of the man matters. If you go to Abuja, you could get anything depending on who you're dealing with.
Yes.
And if you go to Abuja, you could be qualified for something because you don't know anybody. Because it's a culture of strong men. You don't have a strong man, you get nothing. It's not strong institutions. In a strong institution, you don't need to know anybody. The institution is a system, it works itself. Yes. So what is the challenge with Nigeria? I think we're a culture of strong men. We don't have people who are addicted to doing the right thing, who are committed to doing the right thing. We have people either around the corridors of power or in power who can do anything. It's a culture of impunity. That's what I think.
Now, how do you think we can, now, the age has become technological, and this is a technological age now. So how do you think Nigeria can enhance or use their technological advancements to develop the nation?
One of them is to let technology help with voting. Let them not say they could not upload. They must upload. Let them upload the real results. You will see that the candidacy will change. The results will change. If you're good, you win. If you're not good, you don't win. But where we are today, we're not taking advantage of technology, but we need to. We need to redesign our voting process, redesign how we vote, redesign how you publish the results by uploading all those things so that it's no longer personal. It's a system. Whether you like it or not, the actual vote will be not more than the registered voters. Okay. Yes. And technology is very powerful because with technology you can achieve all this.
Now, what measures would you recommend to enhance our security and peace across Nigeria?
We need to celebrate our diversity. We need to believe God or nurture and raise the kind of leader that accepts diversity as a blessing. How do you do that? You know what it is? If you're born in Cross River, Calabar, you live in Lagos for 40 years and you're only 42 years. You are from Lagos, not from Calabar. You say you're from Calabar, you've not been there 40 years. Are you from Calabar? Do you even know your village? You live in Lagos, you're paying tax in Lagos. After 40 years, after some years, you are Lagosian. So, but when you keep saying state of origin, that's a tool for making diversity a problem. State of origin from where?
Wow.
In America, there's not a state of origin. It's where you live, not where you were born. You can be born in California, you move to Boston. Yeah, Boston, and after a while, you can vote there, you can be voted for. But not that if you are born in California, till you die, state of origin, California, go back there. No. There are even women who are married. They are still talking about their state of origin, where they were born, not where they're married. That is a problem. We need to have unity in them. Turn this diversity into a strength by letting people live anywhere, be part of anything. But of course, to do that, you have to kill banditry.
Yes. How?
It's a function of leadership now. When you say kill banditry, if you can't do it, don't become leader. Once you say I'm leader, you've accepted responsibility to solve the problem. You can use all available resources, but the leader must lead from the front. Yes.
True. Now, we have a lot of youth with a lot of potential. Now, what policies or initiatives do you think will empower Nigerian youth and harness our potential?
What I have seen as a pastor, traveling minister, is anything that can inspire the entrepreneurial spirit and change the narrative. Don't tell people to look for a job. Nobody needs a job. People need a calling and purpose. The moment the youth or a youth discovers purpose, they will not lack job for the rest of their life. You have to. The government will never have enough jobs for everybody. So we need to encourage entrepreneurial spirit. That means help raise entrepreneurs, adjust people's mindset to say, you do not need a job. You need to create work for yourself by playing to your strength. Not going around applying CV here. That will still happen, but most people will do technical work. Yes.
Now, at this point in time, you are way older than me. Now, how do you compare Nigeria of 80s, 70s?
Nigeria of 80s
to now?
It was more sane then.
It was more sane then?
Yes, people didn't steal as much. The Nigeria of 80s when I grew up, we used to go to the village to farm. Not exaggerating. When you go to the farm, you're carrying something back. If you're tired, you leave it on the road and go home and look for somebody stronger than you. Say, please, help me, you can bring my basin of yam.
And it will
They will
remain
go there and find it, they'll carry it.
Wow.
Not if you do it now, even the person who left the basin may be missing. It's not the basin and food they will steal. They will even find you that left the basin. They will steal you. In Nigeria of the 80s when I grew up, people of that, they know this. If you come back home, you know that it happened. You come back home, you don't have a job, you come with a car, your father will call him, he will not talk to you. You call a family meeting, they will bring you to the center and say, please, explain to us where the car came from. Your father will call you, arrange the meeting. Your umunna and umunne, they will gather in a circle. You will tell your father where the car came from because he says the last time we saw you don't have a job.
Yes.
How did you buy a car? 2 months later, he came with a brand new car. He will not enter the car. You just call a meeting and be saying, please deliver me. I don't want trouble. But now, your parents will help you to steal. If you go to Abuja as a senator or political aspirant or candidate, your people start rejoicing in the village because they know that largesse is coming. And if you come back empty-handed, they'll chase you out. Like, do you think we're foolish? Is that all for the national cake? You don't want to cut the cake, leave. There's somebody else from here, go and cut the cake. Corruption. It's bad.
But you started somewhere. Where do you think it's
well,
because if you say it was more sane.
Did you hear what I said?
Do
you know what I said? I said when it was 10%, nothing happened. I said lack of consequences will make it grow worse. There were no consequences. They didn't apply, they didn't sanction people. Do you understand? It started small. Everything big starts small. If you don't punish small, it grows too big. Afterward, it will consume you. Yes.
Now, how should Nigeria navigate the global geopolitical shift to its advantage?
Everything rises and falls on leadership. It doesn't mean that one man will solve our problem, but the right man in the right place, the revolution has started. An army will join him. You just need somebody asking the right question, doing the right thing. Everything will start to change. Human beings are very gullible. If you come to a parking space, you don't find a parking space, just look for a place, park, and create and do as if you don't know what you are doing. Just create it. It's not a parking space, so you just put your car there. Just go and sit down. 10 minutes, the cars are full. Before they know it, they are now saying, "Who says you can't park here?" Because you're parked there. People are follow. Human nature is follow. One person that does right will be followed by other people. People are follow.
Wow, and it's true.
To transform the country, you don't need 20 people. You need one person doing right. People will copy the person. Before you know it, you have an army of people doing right. Yes.
And it's true. But I remember someone was talking about the fact that it has to start from the bottom. That if people from the bottom are doing well, that it's going to all the way crescent over. So do you think it has to start from the top or from the bottom?
I don't know. Any of them. Then you just start.
There should be a way it should start from.
Well, I'm saying that leadership leads from the front, not from the bottom. So someone starts from the bottom, maybe it's an act of God. They'll let it live out its life. That's what I'll say.
So how do you approach social welfare in Nigeria?
Well, social welfare is a system of social nets that you want to help the less privileged. It's both a mindset, it's a policy. The policy, Nigeria has one of the best policies in the world. It's implementation. Only righteous-hearted people will do righteous things. That's social welfare. You do know how many programs they did under Buhari? The question, does it get to the end user? I'm not saying that the people that did it is their fault. I'm saying that maybe you don't know why. When God says righteousness exalts a nation, let me explain. Somebody wrote and said, in the Netherlands, a man owns a cow and milks the cow. He milks the cow, sells the milk without a third party. You come there, you pour milk, drop your money and go. If there is a possibility that a person can take milk and not leave money, they employ somebody. Then if the person that is employed needs to be supervised because they can actually be taking the money themselves, they came to stop. You have to employ somebody to supervise the supervisor. Then if the supervisor, that there's a possibility that they would do, you have to employ somebody. Guess who pays for all those employees? The man that drinks the milk. Because the cost of the milk will keep growing to cover the cost of those people. So when you say social safety net, do you know that they've told me stories of sending Nigerians outside the country to go and inspect planes they're buying to fly over Nigeria, and the people selling the plane can give them money and they don't do the inspection. So when you say social safety net, Do you know that you're going to leave resources in people's hand? If those people are corrupt, the money, resources will not get to the end user. So when the Bible says righteousness exalts a nation, it means that you have to trust that the Ovaltine in the tin of Ovaltine is Ovaltine.
True.
Because somebody can put sand there. People have gone to China and said, use chalk for the medicine. They use chalk, made medicine for them. It was made in China, but it's chalk. It's not a real medicine.
True.
So, social safety net, who is going to run it? Is it the same people that are stealing? The money will be allocated, will never get to the end user. They are saying, give you rice. You have to first ask about the reasonability of the rice compared to the challenge of the nation. And then say that the rice, the government says that it's given, does it get to the end user intact? Yes.
Now, what do you think should be done because of our disunity in this part of the world, in this country? What do you think should be done to approach national unity and inclusivity? Just what do you think should be done to solve that?
Life is a mindset. If people don't put on the right mindset, they can't solve any problem. Jesus said, the first word he spoke, repent. The answer to this question is transform thinking that is willing to do the right thing. Because if a person is corrupt, because the heart of the matter is a matter of the heart. If a person cannot be trusted, it doesn't matter. Policies don't change nations. It's righteousness that does. Having the right policy is great. But if the person implementing the policy will not implement the way it's designed, you've already failed before you started.
Do you think there is hope at all with the trajectory Nigeria is going now currently? Do you think Nigeria can be better in this our lifetime?
Yes, it's a choice. Link when you said we wanted to change our country in our lifetime, not forever. Within 40 years was done. We can change our country in our lifetime, but God will need a critical mass of people committed to nation building. Anybody, anywhere can start. We can, but it's not without a price.
Or do you think we should divide? Like people suggest that
People
that should
can.
be the way forward.
I'm not with them. I made research on Nigeria. I didn't see one prophetic utterance from God about a divided Nigeria. Anybody that is talking about a divided Nigeria is not on the side of history or God. Because the prophetic destiny of Nigeria is a country called Nigeria, not a divided Nigeria. A divided Nigeria will mean that God will rewrite the story of the world. Not just redraw the map of the world. He has to write a different story. He has to go back in time and apologize to many people. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
How?
He's not going to do that. It does not exist.
Why is it God that does it?
That does what? It's God that gave the boundaries of nations. It's in Acts chapter 17. God determined the boundary of nations before the nations become.
We know how Nigeria came together. Lugard came to bring these brothers and put them together and say this is Nigeria. Because
God walks through human beings.
How did you know that God walked through Lord Lugard to bring Nigeria together?
How do you know he didn't walk through Lord Lugard? Somebody gives you a prophetic word. I have a prophecy for Nigeria. You say, but the way Nigeria came, he said, I brought it together. I did. I walked through human beings.
Slave masters that came to try to loot your resources,
everything.
put you together, force you into one country.
No.
And then you say it is God that
America was colonized by Britain. Why are they not still talking about slave? They don't even mention slave. They were colonized. Look, I live in a state called New Hampshire. Do you know their motto as a state? Be free or die. They told the British, it's either we are free from you or we die. We will die. We will not live. And they became free, became a nation, became a superpower. Have overtaken Britain years ago. Singapore was also colonized by Britain. They have moved on. What is their GDP? Nigeria is a nation of people complaining. They are tied to history. The people are chopping Nigeria's money and talking about Britain. People are stealing from Nigeria and calling the colonial master. But they are the ones stealing. Colonial master left 64 years ago. You are at the helm of affairs. You are your president, your governor, LG chairman. You are still calling colonial masters. That's an excuse for a culture of impunity.
Do you think we are truly free from the colonial masters you mentioned you're talking about?
If we're not free, show me how they're holding you.
Do you know whether they're their puppets? They are there to serve their purpose.
Who are the puppets? Who are the puppets?
The leaders that are put in there.
So can I say something to you?
Yes.
The people who are crying today, say this country is difficult, they are the leaders tomorrow. Who is the president today? Who are the governors? Do you know what they call Nadeko? What did they do? I thought those people are in power now.
For democracy.
Why have they not changed the country? I'm not saying they're not trying. I'm saying I want you, if you can take a look, do a list of people who are crying now. in the next 10 years or 5 years, they're in power. Let's see what they will do when they're in power.
Nigeria is culture, like you said, culture of impunity. Don't you think these colonial masters or these people, they are trying to impose their puppets on the country? Because it's one thing, that's what they call neocolonialism.
Sure.
It's one thing for it to be that, okay, it will give you freedom, but we're putting someone that will be serving our purpose there. If they're serving your purpose there, how does that make you free?
Well, the reason I cannot accept that, and I think it's foolish, unfortunately, is that I will soon be 55. I was born 3 months to the end of the Nigerian Civil War. I was born October 14th, 1969. I've gone to school, kindergarten in Enugu, primary school in Uzbakali, secondary school in Federal Government Village Okigwe, university in University of Ife, now OA, Obafemi Awolowo University. And after all this year, somebody is telling me colonial master. That's a joke.
But it's real. It's life.
What is life? The president of Nigeria is controlled by a colonial master.
Is it difficult to do?
So that person that was fighting for freedom, the colonial master put him in power.
It's possible.
Well, all things are possible, but unfortunately, I'm not that foolish.
Or do you think it's not being controlled by the colonial masters?
It's absolutely impossible for him to be controlled by colonial masters.
Why would you say it's absolutely impossible?
It's impossible. Who are the colonial masters? People that have problems or their own problems. What is their purpose for controlling you?
To steal your resources, of course.
Which resources? The resources you are seeing in the pockets of Nigerians. Can I ask you a question? Where do you live? I live in Lekki. Come around and see resources in people's pockets. colonial bastard.
No, they can't just give you. Look at what's where all these problems coming from.
Let me say something.
That's supposed
Let me say something.
To develop the overall.
Let me say something.
Okay.
I do not want to prolong the interview.
Yes.
But if there was a colonial bastard, he has God. Even if he's in London, he will only control you if he chose to be controlled. So if somebody has been voted into power, and you say that person in power is controlled by colonial masters, wow, what a country. That's what I'm saying.
He's been voted or he's been forced into power.
By colonial masters?
Oh, yes, because
wow.
How we sure that he won the election and he's forced into power?
No problems. I cannot say, I have nothing to say again.
So overall, what do you think is the solution of this overall? What do you think is the solution of Nigeria?
Everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. The reason some companies can thrive in Nigeria, the reason some individuals can thrive in Nigeria, they made a choice that they will maximize their life. If Nigeria is using stomach infrastructure and the wrong people, however it is, are in the corridors of power, they have no burden for the nation, they're there for selfish ambition, and the system of voting allows them, because of a culture of impunity, because of the lack of supremacy of the rule of law. For me, the answer is that I, as a pastor, a missionary, somebody involved in the social sphere, the church, the messages that come out of the podium not only affect the general body of Christians, it shapes the psyche of a nation. So those messages need to change. You have to build messages that encourage a culture of industry, commitment, excellence, discipline. When you're preaching things that I can become a millionaire, I raise my hand, or people have no order in their life, or do not understand the laws that make life predictable by governing the universe. When you violate those laws as a nation, mathematics is a science of precision. When you're changing numbers and you think nothing is happening, you're retrogressive. What's the answer? What do the pastors preach? What messages emanate from the pulpit? What are people hearing? What is shaping the culture of the people? If those things do not teach righteousness, you believe right, you live right, you act right, it will be difficult to transform the country. God cannot change a person until he changes the way you think. God cannot transform Nigeria until he transforms the mindset of Nigerians. There's a mindset that builds a country. There's a mindset that knows that the national breakthrough is breakthrough for all. There's a mindset that says, I will make it on my own. If there is flooding, I'll buy a 4-wheel drive. I'll drive over the water. You, my neighbors, you can perish. It's a mindset. But there's a mindset that said that you do not need to be a big man not to enter into gutter. You don't need to be a big man to have light in your house. It's not the size of your generator or the size of your brain that determines your quality of life. It is the country you're born into. Somebody pays the price to make the basic needs of life affordable to all. Not the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. No, you must bridge the gap. That the basic needs of life must be affordable to the least of society. That's nationhood. That's nationhood. The fact that I'm born Nigerian means I'll breathe. I'll have a home. It may be a small house. I'll go to school. And then if I want more, I work harder. Yes, that is it.
Now, what do you think should be the mindset of Nigerians in this period of hardship? You know, the country now has
Nigerians,
so much inflation,
they need to stop. They need to stop complaining themselves. In Nigeria, they blame government a lot.
You should stop complaining.
Yes.
We just mentioned now that government.
They need to accept. The average Nigerian needs to accept responsibility for his own life. What built America is enterprise.
Okay.
Enterprise means that I accept responsibility for my life. The government should create an enabling environment. Where the government is failing, I too cannot fail to myself. I may committing suicide. As if I gave my life to myself. I'm saying that why the government is supposed to do what it's doing, assuming it's not doing it, the average person should stop looking for a job and create a job for himself by finding his purpose. Why God made him.
Even when there's no enabling environment for it.
When you say even when, that's excuse making. Nobody amounts to anything in life that gives another person responsibility for his own life. The moment you talk like that, even when you're finished, nobody who makes a difference in this life can bequeath responsibility for their life to another person. History makers neither allow circumstances or other people. They don't even leave their destiny in the hand of God. They take their destiny forcefully from God's hand, because the kingdom of heaven suffers violence and the violent take it from God. When a man can say, the reason I'm poor is that this happened, that happened, you will die poor. But for every poor person like that, I will show you two people who were in the same condition, who took their destiny from the hand of circumstances. I refuse to say, look, I will not die poor because I'm born Nigerian. Yes, it's a choice. It's a choice. Because everybody is born with enough seed in them for greatness. Yes, the government has a responsibility to create an enabling environment. Yes. But the fact that it's failing does not mean you fail yourself. Don't fail yourself. Don't fail yourself. No.
No, what's your advice on how we should hold government accountable? Nigerian citizens, how can we hold governments accountable when they are failing their responsibility on their duties?
I don't concern myself too much with government. Why I say that is because government is killing people. I know what I'm saying. I will not answer that question. I'm sorry. This interview is over.
But of course, we should be able to hold government accountable.
I want to use the restroom. No. Look, they say I'm tired. You are still asking.
All right, okay, just to finalize it, or what is your final advice to Nigerians, the government, and to people generally that can help?
My final advice is that God creates nations on purpose, creates individuals on purpose. A nation should be able to create an enabling environment for its citizens to reach their highest potential. However, when that is not happening, history makers take their destiny in their own hands and do the best they can, including accepting responsibility for transformation of government by even going into government and making a difference. Anybody that sees themselves as a victim cannot amount to much, because you're not a victim. It doesn't matter where you're born, how you're born. You have choices to make, to say in the midst of difficulty, what can I do? Sometimes it looks Herculean and looks impossible, but people have risen from all kinds of circumstances to change their world. Have faith in God. Have faith in yourself. Instead of looking for a job, create one for yourself. You say, well, how? I don't know where to start. Start by self-education, self-discovery, and God discovery. What is self-education? There are three forms of education: formal, informal, and non-formal. Informal education is self-education. When a man goes to school on the internet, goes to school on Google, and reads and prepares, or goes on apprenticeship with somebody. But if you are hoping something for nothing, it's tough. But if you apply yourself to life, life will give you back to the proportion you applied yourself. So do something with your life. And then if you're called to government to make a change, don't complain. Equip yourself. Join the right party. Go make a difference. Do something. Leave your footprints on the sands of time. Do the best you can. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. So, guys, you've heard from my apostolic leader and social reformer, John C Enelamah, in this very intense and very interesting interview episode of Selahmeditate. So, I remain your host, Benzik. And this is the first time I'm coming to the channel. Like I said, do it to hit the subscribe button, like this video, share it with people that this is going to impact. And also, don't forget to turn on the post notification. Sure. So, maybe Dr. John is going to share how people can be able to reach out to him in case you want any counseling or whatever, or anything you want to reach out to him for. Can you share how they can be able to get you?
Follow us on social media. You have the stain on the screen. Follow the screen. Watch it. Follow us. Thank you.
Okay, you have heard him. Follow him on social media with his handles shown on the screen. So, and I'm going to see you again next time. I remember Benzik. Thank you for watching. Cheers.